Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Azriel, and as usual, I am joined here today with my esteemed companion for life, Anthony.
Yes, sir.
That's
I don't
it.
know what I just did. Wait until you see the camera, dude.
There's no
That was a
doubling.
rough one.
That's crazy, dude.
No, I did
Okay.
like a little motion with it. It's not. You can cut that. It's fine.
Okay.
I like tipped my head and like did a circle with my hand forward. It was bad.
What the fuck? Dude, I'm
Yeah,
imagining this
dude.
and it's crazy.
All right, Stalker.
um, But anyways, guys, we are our Cursed Brew, and today we have a pretty fun one for you guys. We're checking out patch 1.5, the guns and looting update for Stalker 2, which there is a lot of goodies in this one. We're primarily going to be focusing on the offline A-Life changes, but I will quickly mention that there are a slew of fixes and adjustments as usual, as we've come to understand from all of the Stalker patches thus far. But in this as well, there are two new weapons. They dropped a massive mod kit, probably one of the most comprehensive ones that we've seen for pretty much any game out there. Coming in, I think at nearly, I think it's around 700 gigs.
700 gigs. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
you have content of uncompressed content at that too, which is monumental for the modding community. In addition to that, they've also added a this sort of new reload animation, which it's not necessarily like a new animation, but rather when you go to reload a gun, if you interrupt yourself in the middle of that reload, and say you switch to your pistol to finish off, whatever you're fighting, and you go back to the gun that you were reloading on, it'll pick up where that animation left off and finish it, which is like honestly like a super cool like little immersion change. But as I said at the beginning, we're going to be focusing mostly on the offline A life changes, as this is probably the most significant part of this update. And next to performance fixes is probably the most highly requested sort of change. Um,
Yeah, it's the most common complaint I see next to performance, hands
Yeah,
down.
exactly. It's these two in tandem with one another. But if you guys end up liking the video, please remember to like it. This is it's huge for us. The channel's growing, and every single like, every comment, everything like that, honestly does wonders for us. But with all that said, I'm going to kick it off to Anthony to jump into the main focus of this video, which again is the offline A life changes.
Yeah. So basically, what A Life is, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar if you're clicking on a 1.5 patch video for Stalker 2. But basically, A Life is the simulated world around you. It's basically what happens outside of the 100-meter bubble that surrounds the player. And that includes other other stalkers doing stuff in the zone, completing objectives, wiping out bandit camps, or fighting mutants and stuff. And it's all these interactions combined. It also in the original Stalkers, it had to do with how the economy worked and how items moved around the map and everything. A Life is kind of the the big part of Stalker that everybody loved and what made the game so unique back then. There wasn't a lot of background simulations going on of that scale back when the game came out. And when Stalker 2 came out, it was basically nowhere to be found. They said it was a big focus. Everybody knows about A Life when it comes to Stalker. And they really I mean, they had a lot going on, but they did drop the ball on that big time at release, and it's been subsequently promised every patch coming forward that they've been working on it. They've added changes, and this is the first fully fledged one with what it feels like to me is A Life being online. I don't know if that was your experience, but that was definitely mine.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, man. This feels like, so I over the past five major patches, there's been little patches here and there kind of scattered throughout, but over the past five major patches, they've slowly iterated on this and added more and more to what we've known, what we've come to know as the Soccer 2 A Life. And now kind of getting to the point where they really add in a lot of the background actions, which in my mind, honestly, is a lot of what made A Life what it is, because it's one thing to kind of simulate the things that are happening in your point of view, like that makes a lot of sense, and that happens in a lot of games in to various degrees and things like that, right? If you've ever played a Fallout or like a Skyrim game, like it's going to simulate to some extent some interactions between the surrounding enemies and allies and things like that by you, but it's really where the offline aspect of it is really like you said, it's like kind of what made Stalker stand apart from pretty much anything at the time, and really anything nowadays as well. It's not often you see games that have anything to this extent kind of added into it. But with the inclusion of a lot of
I
those,
mean,
no, go for it.
I was going to say, for Christ's sake, I believe in Clear Sky. You could just like sit there for long enough, and they would complete the main quest objective for you. It's like stuff like that. It's A Life's like a very, very powerful and not really well utilized tool in other games because I think seeing what the Stalker 2 devs went through, people realize how hard it is to actually implement once they try to implement it.
Yeah, and then in addition to it being difficult to not only implement on modern day sort of hardware and having to do it in modern day engines and things like that, it's very taxing. It eats up a lot of the of like a system's resources, which has been traditionally the biggest issue that they've had. I would bet money on the fact that as they neared release, they realized that this just isn't something they could realistically have included. In addition to all of the sort of graphical enhancements that they've made, being that they're in, Unreal Engine, it was just too exhaustive. They needed more time to like let it sit there and cook. But thankfully, again, to kind of get to like the premise of it, it's there now, right? At least to some extent. So kind of what we're seeing is that we're seeing offline movement from various types of whether they're enemies or allies, again, kind of similar to the original Stalker games. And we're seeing their actions resolved a lot of the time, as well when it's out of the purview of the player's 100-meter bubble. Now, unfortunately, it's not in the state that it once was. There is still work that needs to be done. More often than not, the actions that are happening outside of the bubble immediately get resolved as soon as you I guess pull away from them and then you get them back inside your own bubble. And we're going to be using that term a lot, your bubble. It's a pretty important aspect of this. But as you leave your as they leave your bubble and as you bring them back into it, whatever fighting they had going on, if it had just started, will immediately resolve the second that you get back in range and they respawn into your view. Um, it's not, again, it's not perfect, but it's definitely getting there. These are stepping stones. This is going in the right direction. It's still not quite probably what they meant when they were advertising the game prior to release, when they said A Life is going to be in it. It probably isn't exactly what they were going for. But again, it's a step in the right direction. It's I want to give them kudos when it's appropriate, and I definitely think that this is one of those times where having some degree of offline interaction, albeit resolving quickly but still happening, is important.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think they're getting to the point where, I hate to say it, but I feel like Stalker 2 2.0, when they eventually get to that point, is going to be closer to what we expected Stalker 2 to be on release. But that's not to say that I mean, it sucks that the game had to be pushed out in the state that it was in and there weren't things resolved, but studio only has so much money. Eventually, you got to start making some money. Um, I I understand they didn't take the early release route, but it did kind of feel like an early release, at least for the first 6 months of the game's lifespan to me, or like early access. I mean, um, but I do think that we're on the right track. Like you said, it's a huge step in the right direction. But let alone all that stuff, that's all well and good. I'm super happy for it. I'm super happy that Stalker is moving in that right direction. I'm more excited about the mod kit. I think that's the biggest thing here. And like 700 gigs of like uncompressed files for people to really dig into and play with. We're gonna have. I mean, we already have super fun mods. I don't know if you've seen the gun, the Stedovich gun.
No, I don't
Um,
think so.
I sent it. I sent it to the group chat in Discord, but I'll send it to you later. It's great. It's just like the NPC model and him holding his hand out like he's
Oh,
holding a gun, and he's your
yep.
gun in your hand.
Yeah.
They're already doing like crazy fun stuff like that, and I can't wait to see the level that we get. Like, I mean, Anomaly is one of the best mods of all time, and if they have people that have that same love and passion for this game that want to put the time and effort into developing something like that, we might have a whole new game on our hands in 2 3 years, and it's going to be. I mean, Anomaly is super special. If we get something of that quality or that level with this, which I do think we might with this mod kit, we're in a good spot, dude.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I definitely think on a personal level, the mod kit is the most promising thing. And it's not just giving out the mod kit and giving out the tools that people can use in order to craft the content that they want, but then giving them what, in essence, in a lot of ways, is just kind of like the source files for a lot of different assets and a lot of different actions and things like that that people could take advantage of and get an understanding of not only how things, um, you know, uh, it's like understanding the best way to make events flow, make characters interact, what type of assets best align with it, being able to reuse it. Because I know a big portion of a lot of the older mods that I've seen in like Skyrim, for example, um, some of the more lengthy ones, when it comes between like like a 1 update, 1.1 update, come from the fact that like they have to make textures from scratch, right? I mean, like when
Yeah,
we look at something like a Skywind, a lot of the time, big overhauls like that, and like I mean, that's like some of the biggest overhauls that you could do. It's lengthy development because you do have to do a lot of texturing and things like that. But being given that right up front, I do think is pretty substantial. And honestly, it's a really beautiful thing to see that they feel that confident in their community to give them those assets because they do. I'm glad they realize that Anomaly is of like the highest caliber when it comes to a mod, and giving those individuals, or rather, a new set of individuals. I'd be really surprised if they were still around, but giving them tools nonetheless to kind of make those projects execute on them is honestly huge. Right, it's a step in the right direction in regards to the modding, to the offline A Life stuff. Um, I don't know, man. It just makes me excited for the future of Stalker seeing this level of support. I think in regards to A Life, I think the only other thing that I would really mention is I know in the older games the bubble that your character had was wider. I think some people, I mean, I've seen commotion. People say like, "Oh, it's 200 to 300 meters around you," but realistically, I think it was more around 150 or so. And I don't think that that aspect of A Life is really ever going to change in Stalker 2. You're going to have a lot of very far vistas in Stalker 2 where you're going to see, like, if you pay attention to it, you'll see NPCs pop up like on the edge of your map. That's probably not going to change. I would imagine it would be a massive code overhaul to have all of the actions that that different characters in different like buildings, different settlements and things like that have those actions take place if you were to extend that out past 100 meters, because that's gonna, first of all, it's gonna like exhaust the fuck out of like any machine that the game is playing on. Yeah, there's a lot of syncing up that the devs would have to do between all those different actions taking place, when you expand that out. Yeah, I don't know. It's again, like, it's a step in the right direction, but again, it's just important to realize that it's just a step. Like, I think it's, as with any update, you're gonna have to temper your expectations of what you're gonna get going into it. But I think that this is something that you could be very pleasantly surprised by, if you take the time to kind of absorb the NPCs around you and get to know their names and see where they're going. These are people that you will eventually run into down the line. I know personally for me, it's kind of difficult at times. Being that I'm American, a lot of the names that I see used in that game are very foreign and they're kind of difficult to latch onto. That's like a hyper personal sort of issue.
See, we're used to like Call of Duty where it's like Ramirez, get down.
Yeah,
Like we can
dude.
relate to that.
If it's not John or like fucking Adam, like, it's over
Yeah.
my head. You know what I mean? Typical American.
I do have a big brain move for those of you who the 100-meter bubble and like the draw distance really, really bugs them, like how you could see stuff happening outside and it not like matching up.
Yeah.
Pro tip, just turn down your draw distance if it bothers you. Then you won't be able to see it.
Just play on very low graphics. That's all you need
Yeah.
to do.
I was forced to do that when I first started playing the games. I had none of these problems, boys.
They need to do the Minecraft thing where, like, if you bring in the render distance, it gets like really foggy around you.
Yes,
That's what they should do.
yes.
They should just say, hey, the zone is just there's a fog around it constantly.
Yeah, there's a fog anomaly.
Yeah, the whole time all around you. Oh, that's something else that they added too. That I didn't mention. They added like this. I don't remember exactly, but I think it's like this water electricity tornado or something like that. It's super interesting. I don't know. It's just some minor, something else to kind of
It's
interact
a,
with.
it's a cool game, man. I mean, I'm glad it exists. I'm glad that it's finally coming around to its full potential because I do think it was a very fun game and there's a lot going on in it. I just think that it was a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people with the issues that the game had on launch. But they fixed most of them, and they're still working on it. They're still updating it very, very frequently. I mean, there's been 5 big updates in what the 6, 7 months it's been out.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing fine. They're actually working on the game and improving it. It's not like they just you know do a Bannerlord update and change the price of butter while breaking every mod that you have.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think sometimes butter, it just needs, they need a more stable economy in that game for it to
They don't call it
function.
Butterlord for nothing.
Is that really what they call nickname it? Butterlord?
Yeah, Butterlord. It's
That's
it's an achievement in the game. I think if you have like 500 pounds of butter on you, it's like you get like the Butterlord achievement.
what the fuck? Okay. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, again, just a super quick one for you today, guys. I'm hoping that the inclusion of the cameras can make up for the fact that it's a little bit slower, but we are trending in a positive direction. We are going towards the outcomes that we want. It is going to take a little bit of time. I could definitely see, and I'm hoping that when
Are you
they
talking about
release
Stalker or the channel?
both.
We're
both.
trending in the right direction. We're getting the outcomes that we're looking for.
Yeah, I know, definitely. We're right there with the GSC.
Yeah, yeah.
I could definitely see like some pretty substantial updates coming though with the DLC that eventually will come out. As with typical accursed brew fashion, I'm gonna go ahead and reference Starfield and say that that's another game too that a lot of
You
commotion, a
gotta.
lot of issues, a lot of things like that. But it's typically when we get close to DLC season is when you start to see big changes kind of slept on. So when DLC drops, we start to see like them pop out. So I'd imagine maybe like having more robust a life. Kind of coming alongside that, I would imagine to kind of help further sell that product. Don't be surprised if that's something that you see down the line where there's a bunch of really impactful updates that are surrounded around the release schedule of that to kind of incentivize you to say, hey, if you're coming back to the game, why don't you come back to the game and experience new content as well? I would not be surprised. But
And I just gotta say, because I feel like it's something that we should mention. It's still on Game Pass. It's still playable on Game Pass. I mean, I'm a Game Pass shill, but it's one of the best values in gaming. I would say, in my opinion, get on Game Pass now before it goes the Netflix route and they have to like increase the price a bunch, and use it now because it's the golden age right now and it's not going to be like this forever.
No, absolutely not, man. I mean, people, if you haven't been in Game Pass yet, I remember back in the day it was $1 to get in, and you get like
Yeah.
3 months for $1. So definitely, it's the buy-in for Stalker 2 is very low, as with a lot of the other really big games out there. So definitely something to check out. Again, super cool patch. Really glad that they brought this in. A lot of the changes are kind of minor, or the A Live changes rather are fairly minor, and you're not necessarily going to see very much of. But it is again a step in the right direction. It will be interesting when they add in the ability for these characters to resolve some, maybe potentially missions or radiant missions or something like that. It'll be really interesting to see when we get to that day because I'm sure we will. But
Yeah, I'd love to see that and like an overhaul in the economy and how like if stalkers find something, they'll sell it to a certain area, and like if like somebody could buy something from somewhere and trade it to somewhere else. I think that's a I mean it's a lot mechanically and on the back end and simulation wise, but it's a cool system that the original stalkers had. So I hope to see it in this.
yeah, definitely. I think those are the two big things that we're looking out for now: resolving missions and then having a more robust economy. I think we'll get there. Again, don't be surprised if that's surrounded by some DLC and things like that. But regardless, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. And again, if you guys have, please remember to like it. It means a lot for us. And we will catch you guys in the next one.
Love you.